Good morning, everybody, and it is lovely to be with you. It's Tuesday. Happy Assembly Day. Happy another week. I hope that you're all doing okay and are all having a good day, whatever it is you're up to. Good morning if you are from Preston Primary School. Hi. Good morning if you're from Kingfisher School. Hi. Good to see you. Good morning if you're from any other school in this area of Yeovil or in any part of the world. You are very, very welcome. Now, last week, I don't know if you remember, but we were talking about Daniel. Does anybody remember that we were talking about Daniel? This is Daniel in the lion's den, but we were talking about Daniel in regards to the fact that he was really super strange and he was eating vegetables and water all day. And that was it. Nothing else, just vegetables and water. That was his food, that was his diet for quite a while. And do you remember that? And we were remembering that Daniel was he stood out from the rest of the crowd because he was a little bit strange in that. So it is. I'm just going to do a big shout out to Chestnut and Willow class. Good morning, Chestnut and Willow class. It's great that you're able to be with us this morning. So I'm going to get on. I'm going to talk about what is the odd one out. So if I have a carrot, a leek, a potato, and an apple, what is the odd one out? A carrot, a leek, a potato, and an apple. Which one is the odd one out? Have a little think. What do you think is the odd one out? I think they could all be odd. It would make a very strange meal if you had all those together, wouldn't it? I think the odd one out is probably the apple, because all the others, as I'm sure that you're all shouting now, the others are all vegetables and an apple is a fruit. So I hope that you got that one. That one's an odd one out. So I've got another odd one out here. On this screen that you can see behind me, I hope you can see all those numbers okay. Which one's the odd one out? Which one's the odd one out on that one? We've got number 2, we've got number 12, we've got number 28, number 6, we've got number 7, and number 4, and number 100. Which one is the odd one out on that one, I wonder? Has anyone got it? The answer is number 7, because it's in the name of the game. It's the odd one. The others are all even numbers, aren't they? So have you ever felt like the odd one out? Have you ever felt like you're the odd one out and other people single you out as an odd one out? It doesn't feel very nice sometimes, does it, to be the odd one out? Maybe it's that you can't get the game that you want, the latest game that all your friends have got, and you can't get it and your parents are refusing to get it for you. That might make you feel like the odd one out. Or maybe, do you prefer reading to playing football? That might make you feel like the odd one out, won't it? It feels a bit odd, doesn't it? And it doesn't feel very nice at times. And it takes courage to stand by what you think and to be different, to be okay with being different. Well, I'm going to talk to you about Daniel, a little bit further about Daniel this morning, because he's really super cool and he was very much the odd one out. We've already worked out that he likes vegetables and he lived on vegetables and water for ages. And we're going to learn a bit more about why he was the odd one out and why being the odd one out is absolutely okay. So I've got a little job for you to do. Whenever I say down with Daniel, I want you to put your big thumbs down like that. Down with Daniel. Okay, so we're going to practice that. So I'm going to start with down with Daniel. Down with Daniel. So Daniel was a very clever and important young man who helped King Darius to rule his kingdom. Daniel was so good at his job and so trusted by the king that he was in line for a big promotion, which meant more money. Sadly, this made the king's other helpers very jealous. And when people get jealous of us, they try to hurt us. So the king's helpers got together to put together a plan to bring Daniel down. Down with Daniel! Down with Daniel, they said angrily. However, try as they might, they just could not find fault with Daniel's work. And this made them even angrier. Down with Daniel, they cried. Down with Daniel. The king's helpers knew that Daniel was a man of God who always put God first in his life. Now there's an idea, thought one of the men excitedly. It was a clever idea, and they hurried to the king with it. "Oh, most noble King Darius, you are indeed the greatest king ever to live. We think you should issue a law that in the next 30 days, all people should bow down and worship you alone." The king quite liked this idea. He puffed himself up on his throne and replied, "Very, very good idea. I think that's all very true. I think that people should worship and bow down to me alone, because I am the king, and I am most wonderful amongst all people in the world. Good idea." And, continued the men, "if anyone dares to worship any other god before you, he should be thrown into the lion's den." "Done," said the king. "I think that's a marvelous idea." And the decree was issued. When Daniel heard about this, he knew that this was not an order he could agree with. His God was the only God. He wasn't going to bow down to any other king. God was the only God. So he decided to run away. No, he didn't do that. He decided to just pray to the king and bow down to him for the next 30 days and then everything would be all right. No, he didn't do that either. He decided to just keep praying quietly in his heart to God. No, he didn't do that. He decided that he was going to be proud about the fact that he worshipped God. So he got down on his knees and prayed out loud, not just once, but 3 times a day, as he had always done beforehand. And he was definitely being spied on. The binoculars were out in force. "Down with Daniel," they cried. "Down with Daniel." They hurried to King Darius to tell him about disobedient Daniel. The king was most upset because he really liked Daniel. But a law was a law after all, and he had committed to it. "Have him taken down to the lions," he ordered. But quietly he said to himself, may your God rescue you, Daniel." And what did God do? Well, he shut the lions' mouths. I've got another picture here. He shut the lions' mouths, and when Daniel was brought out from the lion's den, not a hair on his head was harmed. Darius issued another decree. "In every part of my kingdom, my people must fear and worship the God of Daniel." So when Daniel decided to continue to praying to his God, he didn't know what the outcome of his decision would be. He certainly didn't fancy his chances with the lions. They're seriously dangerous and mean, aren't they? And they could eat him. But it was a really tough decision for him to be the odd one out. Of course, Daniel wasn't alone, was he? He had a God who had promised never to leave him or forsake him. He knew that he was right to continue to trust in his God. So I wonder, all of you guys in school at the moment, or at home if you're watching this at home, it took a lot of courage and bravery for Daniel to stand against that king and to go continually in for what was right. And it was great risk to his own life, wasn't it? Because he could have been eaten by those lions. But he knew that God had said to him that he would be with him and he would never abandon him. And that God, if he continued worshipping him, God would stand by him. So Daniel was the odd one out. And sometimes we all feel like the odd one out, don't we? There'll be times, some of you, when you'll feel like the odd one out. If you prefer reading to running around and playing football like most of your other friends, that's okay. Daniel was odd, and yet he was amazing. and God used him really, really amazingly, phenomenally well. So if you're feeling like the odd one out, you've got good company in Daniel. And don't ever forget our little memory verse that we did last week. I'm just going to go back a slide. Do you remember this one that we did? I said, he supplies the needs of those who honour him. That's from a psalm, a book in the Bible called Psalms. God supplies the needs of those who honour him. So if you stand by God and if you do what Daniel said, which is putting God above everyone else, then you will never be abandoned by God. He will never abandon or forsake you, but will forever love you. So I've got a little prayer for us for me to say to you guys, and then we're gonna finish with the Lord's Prayer, because I know that you guys are just amazing at saying the Lord's Prayer. So dear God, thank you that you protected Daniel. And when we are faced with difficult decisions to make, please help us to have courage to choose what is right. Amen. So I'm going to invite you to say the Lord's Prayer together with me. And we're going to say this in the one that you guys will know, which is this one. You'll know it. Join in with me at home and say it really loud so I can hear you from here. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And those of you who did the sign language for that, really good job, everybody. You've done an amazing job and well done. Just going to do a couple of shout outs to hi to Charlotte Newton and hi to Thunderbolt. Great to have you with me this morning. I hope that you go into the rest of your day with courage and bravery to face whatever it is that your day is facing you. And don't forget that God will never abandon you. So just to let you know about next week is half term. Can you believe it? It's half term. So yeah, next week is half term. So we will be having a break from assemblies, but we will be back the week after that. So it'll be either me or Reverend David, and I can't wait to be with you. So because you've been so awesome in listening to this, particularly hi to Chestnut and Willow class, I've got a little bit of juggling. And the balls are just out of camera, so just give me 1 second. I'm still here. There we go. I told you I was still here. So here's a little bit of a juggling for you, because you guys have been amazing. Chestnut and Willow class for you guys. Oh, no. Oh, that never happens. There we go. Little bit of juggling. There's a little bit of backwards cascades. And back to normal cascades. It's been great to have you with me. Have a brilliant, brilliant week. I miss you all so much. I can't wait to be back in school with you guys. Have courage. Be brave. Be bold. And I look forward to being with you again very, very shortly. Bye, everybody.